My husband's midlife crisis had a name, a baby face, and a TikTok account. Clara, 33, had been with Ben, 35, for half of my life. We built a life in a quiet suburb of Chicago. We had a home, a shared history spanning 18 years, 7 of them as husband and wife, and the most beautiful 5-year-old son, Jacob. I thought I knew every facet of the man I'd loved since high school. I was wrong. It all started subtly. Ben, a financial analyst, began working later. His phone, which used to lie forgotten on the coffee table, became a permanent extension of his hand. He developed a short fuse, snapping at Jacob for minor spills, and at me for asking simple questions about his day. The man who used to plan our weekend hikes was now distant, shrouded in a cloud of irritability and secrecy. I remember one evening, I was using his iPad to look up a recipe, and a notification popped up from Instagram. It was a story reply from someone named Luna. A cold, sick feeling settled in my stomach. I'd seen that name before, glimpsed over his shoulder. I clicked. It was a photo of a sunset, and his reply was a simple fire emoji. I didn't confront him. I told myself I was being paranoid. He was just being friendly. But the seed of doubt was planted, and it grew like a weed. The truth, when it came, was more sordid than I could have imagined. My suspicion finally overpowered my fear. One night, after he'd fallen asleep on the couch, phone clutched in his hand, I gently pried it loose. The passcode was our son's birthday, a cruel irony. The evidence was a torrent of explicit messages and photos, not just with Luna, but with a few other girls. But Luna was the constant. Her Instagram was a shrine to youth. Mirror selfies in crop tops, videos of her dancing in her dorm room, captions filled with slang I didn't understand. She was 19. 19, the same age Ben and I were when we started dating. I felt a physical revulsion, so strong I had to run to the bathroom and dry heave. He wasn't just cheating. He was preying on someone who was practically a child, someone our son's age in a different timeline. Confronting him was a blur of tears and shouted accusations. He didn't deny it. He just looked at me with a strange mixture of defiance and exhaustion. He said he was unhappy, that he felt trapped in our life. He was willing to torch our 18-year history, our family, for a teenager. I was a stay-at-home mom. We'd made that decision together when Jacob was born, believing it was best for our family. Ben managed our finances, and I used a shared credit card for expenses. My own savings from before motherhood were my emergency fund, a safety net I never thought I'd need to use so desperately. In that moment, feeling the foundations of my world crumble, I felt utterly trapped. For Jacob's sake, I tried to endure the unbearable. Driven by a mix of heartbreak and morbid curiosity, I found Luna on Instagram. Her profile was public. I sent her a direct message, my hands trembling. I am Ben's wife. Please leave my husband alone. Her response was instantaneous and chillingly cavalier. LMAO, your husband is a grown man. Maybe you should control him better. He's the one paying for my spring break trip, not you. She was fully aware he had a wife and a child, and she simply did not care. She told me to get a life, and that their situationship was lit. I felt like I was talking to an alien. The generational gap, the moral void, it was staggering. After that, Ben became almost brazen. He started leaving his phone location on, a feature we'd use for safety. Now a weapon to flaunt his infidelity. I'd watched the little dot on the map hover near her university campus, a small liberal arts college an hour away. Each time, it felt like a fresh punch to the gut. He was actively choosing to drive to her, to be with her, while I was at home helping our son with his kindergarten homework. The final, unforgivable straw was Jacob's first big school play. He was a talking tree in the class production of the great forest. He'd been practicing his one line for weeks. The leaves are whispering secrets. The performance was on a Saturday afternoon. The night before, Ben didn't come home. He didn't answer my calls or texts. On Saturday morning, an hour before the curtain, I called him again, my panic rising. A girlish, giggling voice answered. "Hello? Ben's a little busy right now. Can I take a message?" It was Luna. I heard him laughing in the background. I hung up. I looked at my son, so excited and innocent in his little tree costume, and something in me shattered and then solidified into steel. My child deserved better. He deserved a parent who put him first. In a frantic whirlwind, I packed 2 suitcases with our essentials. I woke Jacob up, telling him we were going on a surprise adventure to Grandma's. We left the house that had been our home, and I didn't look back. We stayed with my mother that night, and for the many nights that followed. The divorce was finalized 8 months ago. I was granted full custody, with Ben having visitation rights every other weekend. It was the hardest period of my life, but also the most empowering. I got a job as an office manager, found a small but clean 2-bedroom apartment for Jacob and me, and started rebuilding a life from the ashes. It was humble, but it was ours, and it was peaceful. As for Ben and Luna, they made it official after our divorce. For about 3 months, he played the role of the college girlfriend's older, wealthy boyfriend. He'd pick Jacob up for his visits, sometimes with Luna in the passenger seat, her presence a constant, nauseating reminder of my humiliation. He saw Jacob less, maybe once or twice a month, his priorities painfully clear. Then, predictably, it ended. Luna, it seemed, had gotten what she wanted, a funded semester abroad, designer bags, a taste of a life she couldn't afford, and moved on. And my ex-husband, the man who had dismantled our family with a shrug, completely fell apart. Now, when he comes to pick up Jacob, he's a ghost of his former self. He's lost weight, his eyes are hollow, and he smells faintly of whiskey at 3 p.m. He slumps on my sofa during the handovers, not even playing with Jacob, just exuding a cloud of such profound misery it stains the air. And he talks to me. He vents about Luna, how she used him, how she was seeing other guys the whole time, how she broke his heart. He cries, actual tears. And I just stand there, frozen, listening to this man mourn a 3-month fling with a teenager, while the 18-year life we built together got a passing, disinterested glance before he set on fire. The injustice of it is a hot, corrosive acid in my veins. He's grieving for a fantasy, for a girl who saw him as an ATM, while he treated the mother of his child, his partner since adolescence, like yesterday's trash. I know I should feel some pity, but all I can muster is a bitter, furious disgust. The response to my post has been overwhelming. Thank you to everyone who offered support, advice, and shared their own stories. It made me feel less alone in this bizarre nightmare. A few people asked for clarifications, so I'll provide some background on their relationship from what I pieced together. The affair began when Luna was 18, just barely legal. I have to cling to the hope it didn't start sooner. Ben was the one who told me how they met at a bar downtown. He claimed she had a fake ID, and he thought she was in her mid-20s. I don't believe that for a second. One look at her social media, and you can tell she's a teenager. She dresses like one, talks like one. Her entire digital persona screams college freshman. After I exposed the affair, their dynamic seemed volatile. Ben would sometimes come home before I left, in a rage, muttering about her being a little slut from her frat parties and posting pictures with other guys. It was disgusting. I never got a clear timeline, but the emotional affair likely started online before it became physical. His current visitation rights mean he comes to my apartment to see Jacob. I've decided this has to change. The energy he brings is toxic. He barely acknowledges me. But the moment Jacob is distracted with a toy, he starts his mournful monologues about Luna. I've been stupidly passive, just letting him talk, too stunned by the audacity to shut it down. But that ends now, because things escalated today. Dramatically. Jacob gets out of kindergarten at 2:45 p.m. My mom usually picks him up, but I left work early today. He has soccer practice at 4 p.m. One of my close friends, Anna, has a son on the same team, and she offered to watch Jacob for a bit, so I could run to the grocery store. I agreed, grateful for the help. While I was in the produce aisle, my phone started blowing up. Unknown numbers. The first call I answered, it was her, Luna. Her voice was sharp and laced with venom. Wow, you're really that pathetic, writing novels online about me? Get a life, you old hag. I was so shocked I could barely form a word. How did she get my number? The only logical answer is Ben. He must have given it to her, either deliberately or by leaving his phone unlocked around her. She hurled a string of insults, and I, ashamed to admit, fired back. It was juvenile and beneath me. I hung up, my heart pounding. Then another call came. A different number, a different girl's voice. Hey, Clara, heard you're obsessed with Luna? Maybe focus on your wrinkly skin. Then another, and another. 7 calls in total. They were all together. I could hear the same cacophony of giggles and catty comments in the background on each call. After the third call, my shock turned to cold, clear anger. I started recording. I stopped engaging and just let them rant into the void, documenting every vile word. The last call, I finally found my voice. If you call this number one more time, I am calling the police and filing a report for harassment. I have all of this recorded. The line went dead. They haven't called back. But the violation I feel is profound. This child is now actively terrorizing me, and my ex-husband is likely the one who handed her the ammunition. So, my question to all of you, with the call logs and the recordings I have, do I have a solid case for a harassment report? I'm done playing nice. It's been 2 weeks since my last update, and I want to thank everyone again for the incredible outpouring of support and the very practical advice. I also want to thank the kind souls who sent me private messages of encouragement. To the few creeps who sent inappropriate messages, my son does not need a new father, and I am not interested. Now for the update. First, regarding Luna. I took the advice many of you gave. I emailed the dean of students at her university. After my last post, she'd wisely remove the name of her college from her Instagram bio. But as I said then, I hadn't forgotten it. I composed a calm, factual email explaining that one of their students, Luna Miller, was engaged in a coordinated harassment campaign against me. I attached screenshots of the call logs from the 7 unknown numbers and the audio files of the recorded calls. It took about a week, but I received a response this past Monday. It was formal and carefully worded, citing their student code of conduct. They didn't give me specifics, citing privacy policies, but they assured me the matter had been addressed appropriately and thanked me for bringing it to their attention. The silence from her end has been absolute. It seems the university had a talk with her, and the threat of academic consequences was enough to make her back down. Lesson learned, I hope. Trying to find her parents, as some suggested, was a dead end. My friend, who is a social media sleuth, found nothing. Luna's Instagram is a wall. No family photos, no tagged relatives, no linked Facebook profile. She's a ghost. Or at least, she's careful to keep her family separate from her online persona. Now for the main event, Ben. Shortly after my first post, I called him and laid down the law. I told him his visitation rights no longer included entry into my home. If he wanted to see Jacob, he could do so at his own apartment or in a public place. I would bring our son to the car, and that was the extent of our interaction. He was furious. He sputtered about his right to be in his son's living space. I held my ground, my voice steady despite my shaking hands. I told him my home is my sanctuary, and his negative energy was no longer welcome in it. After a lot of blustering, he finally, reluctantly, agreed. Then I made a mistake. Feeling emboldened and still burning with a need to understand, I asked him about his relationship with Luna. I want to know the truth about the money, about how it really ended. He was surprisingly willing to talk, probably because he has no one else to vent to. He told me a sordid tale. He claimed it started as a casual hookup, which Luna insisted remained no strings attached so she could enjoy her college experience. He, of course, didn't take her at her word. He became jealous and possessive when she continued to party and talk to other guys. Then he dropped the bomb. He said he started giving her money because she blackmailed him. He claimed she threatened to expose him if he didn't pay her tuition and living expenses. I was immediately skeptical. When I had spoken to Luna all those months ago, she'd bragged that he had offered to pay her tuition to keep her around. So which is it? The generous, foolish sugar daddy or the terrified victim of blackmail? I don't know who to believe, but both stories paint a pathetic picture of him. He then spiraled, calling her a gold-digging whore and saying she deserved everything he did to her, whatever that means. He vacillated between proclaiming his love for her and spewing pure vitriol. He was a mess of contradictions, a ball of rage and self-pity. I was so confused. This was the same man sobbing on my couch just weeks ago? I pushed back. Ben, none of this makes sense. You're crying over her 1 minute and calling her names the next. What is the truth? That's when he snapped. Just shut the hell up, Clara. You don't know anything. You think you're so much better than me. He unleashed a torrent of abuse, blaming me, blaming her, blaming the world. I didn't say another word. I just hung up the phone. The silence was immediate and blissful. An hour later, I discovered he had blocked my number. The childishness of it was almost amusing. Instead of fighting it, I called his mother. Helen is a wonderful grandmother to Jacob, and I knew she would be a safe harbor. I asked her if, for Ben's scheduled visitations, I could drop Jacob off at her house, and Ben could see him there. I explained that Ben had blocked me after a disagreement, and that communication was impossible. She was shocked and disappointed, but she agreed immediately. She said she would talk to him, but I doubt it will do any good. So, that's the current status. Ben is wallowing in his self-created hell, blocked and sulking. Jacob will see his father in the safe, neutral environment of his grandmother's home. And I've started taking care of myself. I joined a gym, and the physical exertion is a fantastic outlet for my anger and frustration. I even, tentatively, created a profile on a dating app last weekend. The matches were a confidence boost, to say the least. It feels strange, but also exciting, to be seen as just Clara, not just Ben's ex-wife or Jacob's mom. I won't lie, there are still hard days. I look at my sweet, innocent boy and my heart breaks that I chose such a flawed man to be his father. I grew up without a dad, and my single biggest dream was to give my children the stable, two-parent home I never had. For a while, I had it. I thought I had it. Now I see Ben is deeply broken, having some kind of catastrophic midlife crisis, and Jacob and I are the collateral damage. But we are surviving. More than that, we are building a new kind of family, one rooted in respect and peace. And for now, that is enough.